We've got a unique show today because I took a suggestion from one of our longtime viewers here, Jacob Kistner, who said, going into week 10, can we have a flashback episode where you review your preseason predictions, where we currently stand, second half predictions, and NFL awards? And I thought that could be a fun thing to do. So we'll see if this works or not. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of go in a time machine, see what I said back in May when the schedule came out, and I went game by game, giving way too early predictions. So with that being said, we will go back in time and check out whether or not my predictions are accurate or inaccurate so far this season. Starting things off, week 1, this is what I predicted back in May. I had the Browns beating the Bengals. I had them losing to the Steelers, which I wasn't proud of doing, but I made a promise to myself before the schedule came out that no matter who the Browns played in week 2, they were going to lose because they were going to be so happy about beating the Bengals week 1. They'd have a bit of a letdown game. Week 3, I predicted them beating the Titans, and then week 4, I predicted them losing to the Ravens. So I'm 400 or 4-0 at this point here. Following the bye, I predicted the Browns losing to the 49ers, so I got that one wrong. I had them beating the Colts, which was right, but beating the Seahawks, which was not right. After Seattle, I had them beating the Cardinals, and now we're all caught up. And so for the rest of the season, you can see I had them back then, tying the Ravens, which I still get tie vibes for this game, beating the Steelers in week 11. I still like that. And then splitting the road trip between Denver and LA, and I still kind of like that possibility. So far, through 8 games, my predictions are 6 and true. No big deal. Not a humble brag. I'll take it. But my preseason record prediction was 11-5-1. I still feel like this team is on a path for 11-5-1. We'll see what my ultimate record prediction is at the end of the video. Now, help us beat the Ravens rundown in subscribers because we are going to have a big game on Sunday against Baltimore. And I want to make sure the Browns take down the Ravens, not only on the field, but also within the walls of Chat Sports. So if you could go ahead and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Now, as for other predictions I made in the preseason, I had the Browns trading Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Detroit Lions. This was a trade I projected a few months ago, back in June. So I had the Browns trading DPJ to Detroit. Kind of got a little bit lucky on that one, but I sort of saw the connection there, and I thought, oh, that's got a good chance. Other bold predictions I made before the season, I had Watson throwing 34 touchdowns. That's not looking too likely. I'm going to chalk a lot of that up to him missing time, but even if he did play every game so far, 34 is definitely a big number to get to. Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year, that's definitely got some good legs to it. Nick Chubb, I had him winning the rushing title. That really stings. I had Cleveland winning the AFC North. That's very much in play. And I had the Browns going to the AFC Championship game. That is also very much in play. But maybe the proudest prediction I had from the preseason was the offseason moves that the Browns made. I had them ranked 10-1. And I think right now, if you re-ranked them, we'd probably be in a very similar spot. Now, this was before the Dustin Hopkins trade, which would be number 1 right now, probably. But I had Marquise Goodwin at number 10. He's got 3 grabs so far. That seems fair. Rodney McLeod ahead of him. Yeah. Anthony Walker, Okoronkwo, and Juan Thornhill. I think if you had to rank those 3 signings, maybe you would flip Thornhill and Okoronkwo, or maybe move up Walker a spot, but 8-7-6 right there. It seems like those guys should be in that order somewhat. At number 5, I didn't have a player acquisition. I had Bubba Ventrone coming over. Special teams has been much better this year than it was last year under Mike Prefer. At number 4, I had the Elijah Moore trade, which has been solid so far. It's probably not been what we all hoped it to be. I thought Elijah Moore could be a 1,000-yard receiver, so definitely going to fall short of that number at this pace. But I think Elijah Moore maybe goes from 4 to like 5 or 6. But I think it's been a good trade so far. We're only halfway into the year. At number 3 and number 2, Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith coming over. I think both of those moves are better than the Elijah Moore trade, which at the time I remember was not a popular opinion to have those things ahead of Elijah Moore. But right now we're watching Dalvin Tomlinson get 2.5 sacks and Zadarius Smith get a boatload of pressures. But maybe the thing I am most proud of is my number 1 offseason move I had ranked was Jim Schwartz being hired, which is looking like an absolute home run, season-saving hire, you could say. Because if the Browns had Joe Woods calling this defense, this team would not be 5-3. They could very well be 3-5. Now, next up on the show, we're going to run through my updated predictions for the second half of the season. What I think the Browns are going to do in the remainder of their games, and then what I have for the NFL awards predictions. But really quickly, I've got a fun sponsor to share with everyone today, and that is Waterboy. With the holidays approaching, our sponsor, Waterboy, is here to help you prepare for those nasty holiday hangovers. There's nothing worse than feeling like the Grinch while everyone else in the family is rocking around the Christmas tree. Most hydration powders are packed so full of sugar that they cause you to crash even harder. But with Waterboy, that's not an issue, because not to mention you have to drink so many of them to get the electrolyte replenishments that your body really needs to recover, although Waterboy has over 9 times the electrolytes as Gatorade. Inside each stick of Waterboy, there's ginger for that nausea and help make your tummy feel a little bit better. There's also so many other things to help calm the nerves and reduce anxiety. So, maybe the best part about Waterboy is how amazing it tastes. Their most popular flavors include strawberry, lemonade, lemon lime, and blue raspberry. You're actually going to want to drink these. Hundreds of thousands of people already trust Waterboy as their hangover cure. It's time to stop dealing with the anxiety alone. For a limited time, my listeners get an exclusive 15% off discount with our link at waterboy.com/chatsports. That's 15% off at waterboy.com/chatsports. It's time to ho hydrate this holiday season away. So let's get into my second half predictions for the Browns, starting with Kareem Hunt gets 10 touchdowns. He's at 5 already. I don't think I'm asking for a whole lot here. 5 more touchdowns the rest of the way, which is bizarre because when they signed Kareem Hunt, if you remember, I wasn't jumping up and down about it because I felt like people might be wishful thinking that they're getting the old Toledo Rockets, the old Kareem Hunt, but instead they're getting a guy that unfortunately is averaging like 3.3 yards a carry, but he is a touchdown-seeking missile in the red zone. Amari Cooper reaches 1,000 yards. I think it's the first player ever in Cleveland Browns history, or first time in a long time, a Browns wide receiver has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I think David Njoku has a career year. Touchdowns, receptions, yards, all of them maxing out. It feels like we're just getting the tip of the iceberg with Njoku, and more is to come for the Chief. I think Grant Delpit gets a contract extension before the season is done. He is looking like a pillar of this defense for the next 3 to 4 seasons. And ultimately, maybe my biggest and boldest prediction, I think the Browns finish number 1 in sacks. The only reason why this team does not have more sacks is because they get off the field so quickly and force so many 3-and-outs, they don't allow teams to drive down the field long enough for the defense to get sacks. They are professional get on and get off people. You know that one ride at Disney, the moving ride, People Mover? That's the Browns defense. They just move on and off the field because all they do is force punch so quickly, they don't have a chance to get to the quarterback. But when they do give up a very rare first down, they usually reward themselves with a sack on the next play. Now, with that being said, let's look at the remaining schedule here as I predicted the rest of the way. This one's a bold one. I'm going to go with a tie against the Ravens. Like, I want to say win, I want to believe win, but part of me feels like the Browns are kind of due for a tie, and these two teams are very evenly matched. So I would not be blown away if we get a tie on Sunday. I'm just having a little fun right now for ridiculous predictions for games because everyone likes to think they can get a crystal ball and predict months into the future when in reality, who knows who's even playing in these games. Week 11, home against the Steelers, that's a win right there. I am so confident in that one. They are going to shit pump the Pittsburgh Steelers because they suck. Week 12, at Denver, win. I'm a little bit more nervous about this game than I was a few weeks ago. Broncos have won 2 in a row. Sean Payton's a good coach. Kind of a cross-country trip, the altitude, all that stuff. But I do think Cleveland can get the win here. Week 13, just like the last road trip, I think this one's going to be a 1-1 split. So you can maybe flip these two, have a loss at Denver and a win at the Rams. But I ultimately think if you're going to go across the country and you come back 1-1, you're not going to be too upset with that. Week 14, they come back and they take care of business against the Jags. Jacksonville's winning games, but I'm not really afraid of the Jags. Are you? I'm not. I'll take a win against Jacksonville. Follow that up with a win against the Bears at home. Justin Fields comes back to the Buckeye State, and just like his last visit, it will not go very well. Week 16, This is my boldest take of all, probably. Maybe a loss at Texans. Like, I was on the train of Houston wins max 3 games this year. They just had a very insane win against the Buccaneers at home on Sunday. Maybe it's just a revenge game for Houston against Deshaun Watson, who did not play very well, we remember, last time he was in Houston. Maybe this is a game the Browns kind of overlook, and they get snake bit and they get caught by surprise. Week 17, there's a chance Aaron Rodgers plays in this game. I mean, you said after Monday Night Football he's a few weeks away. This is like 2 months away, so it's not impossible. A month and a half, 6-7 weeks. So keep an eye on that one as a potential Aaron Rodgers return. But I think this will be a win for Cleveland. Week 18, a loss at Cincinnati. The Browns have dominated Joe Burrow and the Bengals, but the Bengals are improving. Joe Burrow's healthy. T. Higgins is getting into a bit of a rhythm. They're going to be a problem. I think this could be a loss on the road. So ultimately, I have the Browns going 10-6-1. That is no doubt going to get them a playoff spot. There are 7 teams that make the playoffs. Last year, the 7 seed, the Dolphins, won 9 games. So 10 wins is going to get you at least the 7 seed, but I think it could get you the 6 seed. And I think it might be Ravens as the division winner, Bengals as the first wild card spot, and then Browns as the second, or flip-flop those two, or rearrange them however you want, because it could become a log jam. But that feels like that's sort of the path these 2 or 3 teams are on right now. Now, as for some NFL awards predictions, how about the MVP does not go to a quarterback? The favorite's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has not looked like the most valuable player in football this year. Although Christian McCaffrey has. He's a professional touchdown scorer. He does it every single week. He is insanely valuable to San Francisco. He is the MVP in my eyes. You can look at his stats so far this year. He has 13 total touchdowns, and we are at week 8 or week 10. He's played 8 games coming off a bye. I think it's very fair for Christian McCaffrey to end the run and be the first running back to win the MVP since AP did it back in 2012. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. It's going to be a tight race for Defensive Player of the Year. You've got a lot of good competitors between Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and Micah Parsons, Danielle Hunter. All these guys are making good cases for it. But ultimately, if there's one guy who completely turns games upside down, it's Myles Garrett. And I think he's going to win this award. Offensive Player of the Year, which should just be the MVP if it's an offensive player, but whatever. I think that goes to Tyreek Hill. The guy, I think, is making the Chiefs really regret that trade. I know they won that Super Bowl still, but Tyreek Hill and Tua this year, they have been phenomenal, right? I mean, Tua for Comeback Player of the Year as well. Look at Tua's numbers so far. 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I know they had some tough sledding against good teams, but I think Tua's got a real chance to win Comeback Player of the Year. I believe Damar Hamlin is the favorite, although I'm not trying to take anything away from Damar. It would be a little bit, I shouldn't say odd, but unique if Damar Hamlin won Comeback Player of the Year, but never really played, because he's a healthy scratch pretty much every single week for Buffalo. So that could change, but I would think the Comeback Player of the Year might go to someone who has, been active and has been playing games. So let me know what you think of my predictions all in all. But also, will Myles Garrett win Defensive Player of the Year? Yes or no? Chime in for me down in the comment section below whether or not you think Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year.